around 7:10, and I've been up since like 6:30, but I've been working on getting my book list underway. I found this one online, and I've been trying to get some of the books for it. It's a little bit out there, and I'm gonna admit I'm only doing this to like expand my worldview. I'm not reading all these books because I completely agree with everything they have to say, and at least I'm not really sure yet what I believe about that kind of stuff. Um, More background on me, I grew up in a very conservative Christian home, and it was really only like one view that was tolerated, and that was, highly, highly conservative, with constant input from like talk show radios where they were constantly demeaning anybody who thought differently from them while still saying like, oh, think for yourself. Like, I think that's a little bit like self-contradictory, but whatever, we'll let it go. um, that's just some context for that. So growing up, I never really thought to question what I was being taught. And I'm not saying this now like I'm 100% in any other camp. It's just that I'm realizing that if I want to genuinely impact the world for the better, it's not just about making myself protected in this inoculated environment. It's about engaging with the world at large and understanding what I think about it and how to actually make it a better place for the people that live in it, not just a few of the people that live in it. Um, so yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking about. And so these books that I'm reading are a little bit more of like some other worldviews that I haven't encountered growing up. So it's going to be interesting to see how that impacts Christmas if I talk about any of it, which I'm trying not to. I would really rather not be demonized for thinking differently, even though they say that they want people to think differently. It's still like you're dumb for believing other things. But anyway, all this to say, I'm kind of doing this in part with what I said the other day about like trying to be like, hey, here's what I think. I want to know what I think so that when it comes to have those conversations, I can actually say, hey, here's what I think, regardless of what you guys believe. My passivity isn't going to feed into this assumption that I agree with you. I'm going to actually say what I think and have a meaningful conversation about it instead of talk about you guys later and be like, wow, they believe this, this, and this. Because that's part of it, is like I am hurt by what they say, but I don't know what to say to them. And it's not even that they're wrong or that they're wrong all the time. There's just things about it that don't sit right with me, and I want to expand my worldview so that I can break down why I think differently from them and where there are some things that we share. So I don't know. All that to say, I want to have better conversations, and to have better conversations, I want to be more well read. And to be more well read, that includes reading things I've never encountered before. And so some of these books are a little bit out there, and I don't know. I don't really want to talk too much about it because I don't want politics to be the point of this channel, and I want people to feel welcome here regardless. But I want this to be a place for positive conversation, but that also includes positively talking about the things that you disagree on. So I don't want this, like, if people talk about stuff in like comments anywhere, I don't want this to be a place where it's just one person talking and then the other person's talking. I want people to be listening. The point of conversation is learning and progress, not to win an argument and not to prove that your way is right, because there's no really right answer. Any side that's too far on either side of the spectrum, whatever spectrum that may be, is too much. So we have to have these alternating views, these differences in views, to help reach equilibrium. Like, that is part of the point why people feel differently about things. Like, we can't all agree, and if we all agree, then literally the world's going to explode, because we're just gonna, it's gonna be way too leaning on one side. So anyway, a lot of rambling, but like basically I want to be more well educated in general, and that includes, political things. And I avoided them for a long time because it's more comfortable to pretend that they don't exist, or to pretend that in some ways my world doesn't change because they do. Um, but I think it's wiser and more mature now that I'm 22. I get to be an adult, and I'm choosing to educate myself instead of choosing to be a passive contributor to problems. So that's essentially it. I just wanted to do a little debrief, and then I'm gonna go eat a little snack and have a good workout. So it has been like another hour since I said I was gonna go to the gym and everything. I've just been taking it really, really slow, getting sucked into little side tangents and trails, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Guess what? I'm on Christmas break, so I don't care. And I'm gonna go take out the trash and then drive over to the school gym and use that gym, and then I'll be back for some proper breakfast. But it is like 8:30, so this is completely different from my normal schedule. It's okay. I'll try and figure out like a good break schedule. That way I'm still putting out a pretty consistent habits and doing everything that I normally do, just maybe a slower pace than normal. But yeah, sorry, this lighting is super jank. I put on a hat because my hair is a little frizz mess, but yeah, we're gonna go work out and catch you later. So, one thing that I wanted to mention really quick is I think it's really cool that I can share with the internet and have this anonymous audience. I think that so often we kind of skew ourselves to be read well by the person that's in front of us. Like, if I'm with somebody that lives a certain kind of way and believes certain things, then I'm gonna kind of skew the amount of myself that I share with them or parts of myself that I share. But when I'm sharing with the internet, when I'm sharing with YouTube, there is this like universal anonymity where like you guys, for the most part, a lot of you guys know me because you're subscribing from people that I know. But as a world at large, like I get to be a stranger and you get to be a stranger to me. And so our conversations are less about ourselves and more about ideas and out there thinking that I don't necessarily share with my normal group of people that I'm around. So I don't know. I just think that that's a really cool feature of the internet, and I respect that right now because I'm able to talk about things that I'm not able to talk about in my everyday life, and um, I don't have a bias in how I'm sharing it. Like I'm just sharing me. I'm not sharing the version of me that appeals to some people and may not appeal to all. I think it's helping me figure out who that person is, and I really appreciate that. So as I'm working out and I'm thinking about how these next like 10-ish days is going to go of me just doing my own thing without having anyone else's expectations being put on me, I feel this weird sense of not dread exactly, but concern. So I know I'm not the only person that puts a lot of their worth in school. I'm a pretty high performer, I would say. Like, as far as the amount of effort and strength I put in, I don't tend to, I kind of think in some ways I'm lazy. Like, I tend to feel like I'm not working as hard as other people. But the truth of the matter is, I'm very much an overachiever and I'm very much a perfectionist. But how does that translate to actual life? Like, when I'm actually living, I don't know how to let go of those things that serve me during school, that serve me when I'm trying to work so hard on stuff. The truth of the matter is they never have. Like, the truth of the matter is, while it feels like in some cases they're serving me, it's just an idea of like pride. And I feel like on breaks, you have the sense of actual reality. Where when you're doing school, like you get this false idea of like this is what life is meant to be. Um, it's crazy because there is no map, right? There's no, hey, here's the course load that you're supposed to take. And like, I know that my parents have done a pretty good job of saying, yeah, there never was to begin with. Like, I was homeschooled growing up, so there was no like, this is what your life is supposed to look like. And there was no like prototype of here's how social world is and here's how your world is and here's what you're supposed to do in it. And in some senses I think that was extreme weakness in that it made me so anxious because there was this complete lack of structure. But at the same time it has given me a lot more time to think, and it's given me that freedom to kind of observe my life rather than just being stuck in that in the normal cycle of it, which is so overwhelming that you don't have the time to process. I'm very much a processor. I'm very much like I'm thinking through this and I'm going to think through it for a long time kind of person. But I'm just worried about how many people feel the same way that I do when it comes to having like a break or it comes to having like a disconnect from that constant feedback loop of, hey, you're doing a good job. Hey, here's your grades. Here's how you're actually doing. Like, and even then there was no real objective measurement, especially because I'm in an art and design field. Like, how do you objectively measure, okay, does it meet the brief? There we go. But like, it's exhausting, I think, to be in the system, but it's also extremely like terrifying to be without it. it's the same idea of like it just because it's comfortable, it's terrifying to not have it. But yeah, this is what I'm thinking about now, and like I am worried about the amount of worth that we put into things that give us feedback. I really am excited to have time to work on personal projects, including filming this, but at the same time, there's a sense of guilt that comes with it, right? Like there's a sense of like, oh, I should be doing this, but dude, it's Christmas break, and I'm still feeling like I need to start school tomorrow. That is a survivor mindset. That is a like, oh my gosh, I just need to survive, instead of like an enjoyment, a thriving, a nurturing, doing things not because there is an immediate cash reward, but because your soul needs you to do them. Like that is how I feel about art. Like it's not because I want to get a project done or because I want that feedback or because I want to learn these technical skills. It's like my soul needs to make this. Like it needs to be, so I'm going to make it. I wish I felt that way more all the time, but it's hard in design. Like I didn't realize how difficult it was going to be to just crank out work all the time and meet the client's needs, but kind of miss the point of creating it all, which is to, have that self-expression and create something that is different from what anyone else could have created in that situation. Because you're the only person that has your life experiences, your views, your perspectives on the world. So rather than nurturing the technical skills, I want to nurture more of that, right? Like I want to nurture more of my own independent view to say, hey, this is what I think, regardless of what the right answer is or the most technical way to do it. I want to be more fluent in those things so that I can express my views more. But what is the point of fluency if you can't think of words? Like if you're not trying to say something, what is the point in learning the language? Like, I don't know. I learned Japanese because I wanted to speak it. Like I wanted to be there to have something to say, to contribute to those conversations, to be able to listen to people and hear their views. But if I'm just learning it for the technical sake of learning it, then I'll never want to use it, and I'll never actually use it. And I think that's part of the stickiness of design is like, if you want to actually stay, you have to love it. Like if you want to actually stay, you have to nurture that something to say. You have to nurture having an expressive voice. You have to nurture empathy. You have to nurture those less like money-making skills. So these soft skills are important, and they're just as important, but they won't necessarily make you money in the beginning, but they'll make you a designer. Like those are the things that, it feels nice. Like, I don't know. And it's probably just pride for me to even be thinking of things this way, but I don't know. There has to be more, right? There has to be more than just a machine manufacturing 3D models for people that I'll never see, and there has to be more than just shipping things overseas to be manufactured and sent back here. Like, to me, there has to be more, and I think that anything is art if we can express meaning and we express depth to it. And so even if I'm modeling in SolidWorks, that's art to me. Like, so I don't know. I'm just throwing out a ton of other thoughts, but I want to make things for the love of making them, and I need to be more in touch with that, because when it comes to breaks and you have time for yourself, that is a time to invest in yourself. Like, this is the time for me to actually be like, hey, what I have to say matters, and I'm going to listen to her. What I need to do matters, and I'm going to do it. Like, there's so many things that I need to say, Like, it's like if I don't say them, I'm going to explode. But I'm trying to give myself words to say. And that includes design stuff. That includes being fluent in sketching and drawing and modeling. Like, all of those things are basically learning a language that will help me to express it better. But it's like, I want to listen to myself first, I want to be able to give something new, because that's what I can contribute to Seams. It's like me, not just myself. What I'm thinking about just now is how it was really ingrained in us that working out was in some ways punishment to development. And I honestly hate that idea. Like, I hate the idea that we have to punish ourselves into change. It's so much more important, I think, to be nurturing with ourselves into change, to be gentle with ourselves, to create what we want to do. Because it's not about destroying what is,
it's about creating what is better, which is stronger and kinder and more able to care for other people. It's not about destroying what I have now. I love who I am, and I love the body that I have, and I love what it can do for me. It's about creating one that is optimized, right? Like stronger, but it's so much more important and longer lasting if you can do that in a gentle and kind way. Like for me, one of the first experiences I had with working out was like Jillian Michaels videos and like those videos on the internet, and P90X, where it's just so like, it feels like you're going into a warehouse to work out when you watch those videos. It feels like it's overly intense and brutal, and you feel exhausted, like I did as a kid. But like that mindset of punishment into growth is so unproductive in the long run. Like for me at least, like if I'm picturing myself almost like a plant that I'm like planting seeds on, like you're not going to be able to just force that plant into the kind of plant you want it to be, but you do set it up for success, right? You give it environments where growth is great, like growth is encouraged. You also remove other things that might destroy that growth, like weeds and other plants that are too crowded. Like set yourself up for success, and part of that is a mindset where growth isn't based on punishment but investment, and like creating something, not destroying something. So that's what I'm thinking about.
Another fun thing, I was so worried while I was working out that I was missing my roommates as they were leaving, and I almost didn't even work out this morning because of it. But guess what? They're not even down here yet. Like, I haven't even seen them once. And their cars are still there, so they're still here. That goes to show that sometimes your brain lies to you. You shouldn't always believe it. And don't act on those things, just communicate better with people. I always feel weird sharing things on the internet. I don't know how much of it is like just me being myself, or if it's because my dad just always was like, "Don't share anything. Don't even tell other people about this stuff." But it's like at the same time, you want us to publish these books, you want us to tell these stories, but if we can't actually share anything, then what am I telling exactly? You know? I don't know. It's like, let me just express myself, and then you guys can apply your own interpretations of that. I'm not going to interpret myself for you. And if anything does come up that I want to talk about in depth because I think it's applicable to the world at large, like, I'm going to share my stories so that I can help people and so that there's something good that can come out of the pain. It's not about me protecting myself. It's not about me living in this world where I'm the only person who experiences my own pain. I'm the only person who can understand it. It's about sharing what I've learned so that more people can benefit from it. Um, and if I want to do that on a larger scale, why not practice it in a relatively safe way? I know the internet is a horrible place in some ways, but at the same time, it can be a liberation for so many individuals who want to be able to speak their own perspectives. And I want to encourage that and create a space where people can be themselves and be imperfect. And it's a focus on growth that I want to facilitate here. It's not just telling these stories to say, oh, look how terrible this person is, or look at how this is wrong. It's like, what is causing the pain? Like, where is the deeper meaning, and how can we, I guess, convey that to people at large? So I don't know. I just think that I'll probably end up sharing more of my stories in general on here than I have up till now, because it's not just about my life as it is now. It's like, how did I get to where I am now? And also, like, where am I going? So that's a little bit of what I'm thinking about. And I know a lot of my videos are going to end up being kind of long, especially for like vlog stuff, because honestly, it feels more like story times. It feels more like, let's sit down and talk. Like, let's discuss. But yeah, I don't know if this is normal or if it's just like my own perception of it, but it feels really controversial to talk about anything beyond superficial, especially on the internet. Like, I want it to be digestible for most people whose lives have been different up to this point, and I don't want my differences in political or ideological things to dissuade people, but at the same time, I don't want to ignore their existence and therefore like make myself and make myself digestible for people. Like I want my content to be accessible. Like I already said that, but I still want people to feel like they can disagree with me. So I have to make a stand for people to feel like they can disagree with me, and I don't want everyone to agree with me. That would be terrible. like but at the same time, like I can't just agree with everyone, and that would be going against myself. Like I don't know. There's a whole lot to talk about with that, and not enough time, honestly. If there's a capability for longer videos on here, and I'll probably end up, rambling more in the future. But yeah, I want to tell more stories. I have stories to tell. I want to tell them. So this might end up being more of a podcast style. I'm talking to my camera, but I'm still basically just a voice that you get to hear. That's probably what I'll probably end up doing for the most part. So I'm okay with like not the most crazy out there engaging content because I don't want to be living at this high all the time. I want to kind of sit there and make my coffee and sip it while I read my newspaper because I'm that person now. But yeah, I just I wanted to open this up for like more meaningful conversations instead of just short like here's what I think randomly throughout the day. I also want to be able to talk about the bigger problems without naming too many names. I'm not gonna try and like get people in trouble. I don't care about that. I'm just here to learn, honestly, and if I can learn from things that have happened in my past, and if I can share those things with you and become more of a open conversation kind of channel, I'm okay with that. I'm open to it. Honestly, the people who would be against that aren't watching this stuff, and if there's people that aren't really like, I don't necessarily want my family watching these. I mean, I'm sure they will, but it's like I'm not creating a content for them specifically, and I'm not considering them with this content I'm creating. I'm focused more on what I can learn, and what I'm learning in the moment and what I'm learning from things that are going on. So I don't know, just like let's learn together. That's my whole goal. And I hope that in some ways it can be inspiring that I'm able to have these conflicting realities of like prioritizing myself and prioritizing other people without compromising too much on either of them. I don't know. I'm the kind of person who's gonna try and get everything. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna try and not have it all in like sense of everything being everything, but have it all in moderation and balance. So I don't know. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking right now. So I think a big part of my like feeling this opposition and tension is because when other family members, like my cousins or other people, my brother even started YouTube channels and started talking about things, I was like rude, like high key, so judgmental. I was just like, ew, like why do they think they can do that? Like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe they did that. And I'm looking back on that now, and I'm realizing just how insecure I was with like I wanted to do that, but I internally was making fun of myself and saying, no one wants to hear you. Nobody has a platform for what you have to say, and you're not good enough to say anything, so don't. And it's just so much of my own internal, like, nobody else is saying that. Like, no one else is judging me right now. It's just me, like, thinking that, and it's just me feeling it from the past. And I need to let go of that. Like, I need to grow past that and just do what I want to do, regardless of if I'm ready for it or not. So this has been a big season of growth for me, and I just wanted to point out to myself, like, all the stuff you're afraid of right now, where like all this feels so foreign and new, and you feel this like weird tension, like that's all internal. Like that's all you hurting yourself. Like, and how can I be more of a support to myself instead? Like, how can I encourage growth instead of making fun of myself for trying? But yeah, that's some of my thoughts right now, and I just wanted to say, like, I really do appreciate how much this is helping me to grow at least an awareness of my own biases against myself and just the way that I hold myself back. So I appreciate it. I also wanted to document really fast that I'm currently going through a ton of really old emails that I've never deleted. I'm gonna delete almost all of them. So I like filled up my Google Drive. Like I'm running out of storage, so I'm like, hey, let's revisit some of this trash that I've been keeping, including stuff since I first got my email when I was like 13. I used to keep an entire folder. Let's see if I can find it. I had an entire folder just for the email word of the day from dictionary.com. I literally had a folder for that. And now I've been like, what if I need it? You know, so like the same reason people like keep a lot of clutter around, I've been keeping a lot of this trash from my email. So I'm deleting a lot of it. It's like going to be some digital minimalism, if you will. I'm moving towards that. I'm just kidding. It's time for a change, you know? So, and I have time right now. I might as well do it. This is another thing. I want to point out that so much of these like lifestyle changes are kind of exhausting. Like they do require a lot of energy, and I think that people can get a little bit like classist, honestly, with like being like, oh, everybody should delete all their emails and stuff. Like, I'm sorry, I have time for it like now, but that's also because I have the luxury that I get to go on a break right now, and I'm investing in it by taking care of this kind of stuff, but like I haven't had time up till now, and even if I did, like, who is to say that I would even know that this is what I would need to do? So anyway, I just wanted to point out that there can be a little bit of like a judgmental mindset when it comes to like, oh, you know, digital minimalism, everybody should do it. Like, okay, but some people literally don't have time, and I'm gonna go through a ton of files today, but that's also because I have an entire day to do it. So I just wanted to join you, like, show you guys part of that journey because I know it's something people are interested in. I'll show you kind of an after. Like, this is the before. These are all the freaking number of folders that I have. A lot of these are very outdated. Some of them were like, let me see if I can find it. There's like, you know, just literally school reports, like, you know, other stuff, like just art products that I used to sell on my Redbubble, and just like random Korean stuff. Like these are all just recipes for Korean dishes that are all online. Like all this stuff is online somewhere, and I'm never gonna look in here to try and find a recipe. But for some reason, I struggle to get rid of this. If it was like a physical thing, I would not struggle to get rid of it. But because it's digital and it feels like it doesn't take up space, it's harder for me to get rid of. So I'm sure I'm not the only one that thinks that way, but just wanted to point that out. So I appreciate this journey, and getting to share it with you guys is a huge blessing. If you thought I was just being dramatic about like the number of emails and like the fact that I've been keeping stuff for too long, this section says 381 total emails in this folder, but the problem that I see more is that these have been sitting here for 5 years completely unread. And oh, okay, cool. Good to know that my thing failed again. Great. I'm editing stuff too while I'm trying to do this, but yeah, it's just a ridiculous, like 5 years worth of old content that I've never looked at. So that's kind of what I'm thinking, and yeah, that's where we're at right now. So, woo, deleting all of this crap. Good evening, lovelies. It is around 8:30. I have been editing videos and recording stuff all day, and I wanted to mention really quick, not only did I edit and schedule 4 videos, but I also have gone through my whole email history and deleted a ton of stuff. But I did vlog me reading a few of those emails from that science competition I was in and talking about all of the crazy stuff that happened with that. So that video is going to be like over an hour long. So I'm not planning on publishing it publicly for anybody to watch. That just feels uncomfortable, and I don't really feel comfortable sharing other people's information or anything about that. Like, there's not a whole lot in there anyway, because I try to avoid it. But I'm going to be publishing that on my Patreon. If anyone's interested, you can find it on there eventually. I haven't gotten to editing it yet. I'm going to focus on getting caught up with these videos and probably work on getting that one done later on. So I'm going to try to take care of myself well, make some tea, have a slow evening, maybe read some books. I don't know. I don't know how to take care of myself anymore, I guess. It's just been one thing after the next, so Yeah, well, I'm pooped, so I am going to call it a night for vlogging and catch you guys in the next one.